everyone, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Trinity Stamps video. Today we are going to be making 3 cards today, yes 3, using the brand new Teacup Blooms stamp set. I wanted to show that there are different ways to use an image like this. You don't just have to use the teacup, you don't have to use it all together, and we're going to have a good time with it. We are going to be using several other products. We've got our matching dies, and this stamp set is I just think it's so sweet. We've got our number candles. We're going to use that one as well. We also have our 3.25-inch flat acetate shaker for circles. We have our modern embossed window panel number 1. These go well together. We have our clean cut layers set A circle dies, and then we also have our striped background stamp that we're going to be using as well. So good combination of colors or products. This is just for the first card that we're going to be making. We're also going to be using the Celebrate from our Celebration Cupcake along with the matching die that goes along with that, because our Teacup Blooms don't have any sentiments with them. I've gone ahead and already cut out the circle die that I needed for the inside of our flat acetate shaker. And so now we're going to take our cardstock, and this is just some purple cardstock that I have from my stash. I'm going to trim this down to be the size of an A2 card panel, so that'll be 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. And then I'm going to pull out our striped background. I'm going to take off just that release on top of it. We're going to leave it onto its backing sheet, and I am going to ink that up using some purple ink. This is the Crown Me from Simon Hurley Create. I'm going to ink that up pretty well. I find that I don't have any issue bringing my cardstock to my stamp. I find that's an easy way to ink those up when you're using those background stamps. And then I'm just going to use my fingers to press so that I can get a good impression from that stamp. That's all I'm doing. You might want to bring in like a scrap piece of paper to push down as well so you don't get ink all over your fingers. But take a look, it worked great. We'll clean up our stamp, and then I'm going to bring in the Modern Embossed window panel number 1. Yes, that implies there is a window number 2, and that window is a little bit smaller than this one. So we've already die cut that out. I'll bring in our number candles. I say number candles because there are matching dies to go along with this to turn those into like the little candles that you would buy from the grocery store, you know. Yeah, I'm not going to use them as candles because we're not going to use our matching die to go along with it, but I'm going to use the 5 and the 0, centering that up using our Mini Misty, and then I'm going to color these up pretty quickly using some Olo markers. So I did stamp these out using some blackout ink, and I stamped that onto some Express It cardstock. It is my favorite combination for alcohol marker coloring. It just is super smooth, and that ink doesn't bleed, which is good. And then I'll bring in the CG7. We're going to leave part of that area open. By open, I mean I'm not going to color the whole thing in with that CG7. And then we'll blend those areas with our CG5 again. Do that again with our 0, leaving some of that open. Kind of like those candles were, if you've ever purchased them. Super fun. All right, and then I'm going to take that leftover cardstock that I had, and we're going to stamp out some of the flowers and the leaves from our Teacup Blooms. I'm going to stamp a couple of those a couple times, and we're going to use those same colors that we did for the candles, or for the numbers. We're going to use those on our flowers. I just thought this was a super pretty combination, and because it's CG, meaning like cool gray, that's what the C stands for, that gray almost matches the purple. I mean, it brings out some of that purpley tone to it. So when I'm looking at this card, I feel like those flowers are slightly purple. I don't know if it's a trick of the eye, it probably is, but it feels like that to me. So I'm coloring up all those flowers the same way. We're just using some flicking motions and only using those 2 colors there for all the flower petals. And then when we move on to our leaves, we're going to use some yellow-green. So this is the yellow-green 2.5. We'll even use that same yellow-green on the inside of our flowers just to make it simple. And then we'll use some YG 8.5 and then flicking motions again to blend those colors out a little bit more. But this was a simple one to color, fun to color, and I love the end results. Now that we're done doing all of our coloring, we will bring in our matching dies and tack that down using a little bit of mint tape, and then we'll run that through our die cutting machine. We'll have to do that a couple times because obviously some of those images were stamped more than once. And then when we have all those die cut out, we can start doing some assembly. So that is the 3.25 inch flat acetate shaker. If you've seen me before, there are 2 other sizes, and it makes it super fun, and these are easy mailers. I'm going to use some rip and stick tape. It's great. I'm just winding it around that. You'll see I'm even kind of pleating it, I guess, a little bit as I go around the outside edge of our circle on the back. It's okay to do that. It's not going to affect it any. And I just see, that's just one of the easy ways to do it. And then I'm going to peel off that release paper, not all the way around, partially. Okay, so just partially. And then you'll notice earlier with that acetate shaker, there was a film on it, not like a film, but like a protective cover on that. I peeled that off already. And then I'm going to just close up those tabs around the outside back of the shaker. Obviously, we're going to do all of them, but just the top portion I am going to leave open. The reason I'm leaving that open is so that I can put my shaker bits in there. That's why I didn't pull off all of the release paper. I didn't want that sticking where it shouldn't. And then we're going to bring in some silver sparkle spots. I'm going to put in about 4 small scoops. I didn't want to cover up the number, but I did want to have a decent amount of bits in there. These are completely flat, which makes them super great for shakers and also really great for the outside of your cards. Makes them super easy for mailers. It doesn't add a lot of bulk, which is great. We'll bring in our card base. Now this is again an A2 size card, so this measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches, and I scored that at 4 1/4. This will be a side folding A2 size card, and then Miles is going to come in and visit. And I'll use some more of that rip and stick tape. We're going to put that all around the perimeter of the back of our purple panel. We'll even put that around the circle. I'm not going to line that circle completely like I did before. It'll be just fine to do it this way. We want that to stick a bit, but everything's going to stay where it's supposed to. I'll peel off the release paper just around the circle, and then I can flip all my pieces over just to make sure that I'm lining up the 50 in the center. I don't want that to not be centered, obviously, and pardon my head, just making sure that I'm getting that perfectly centered. And then once that's on there, I'm going to grab some more of that rip and stick tape, and I am going to go around the perimeter of the circle again after I give Miles some snuggles. But I'm just doing that to be extra cautious, to make sure everything's sticking the way it should. I get nervous about that. And then a couple more pieces. And then we can just start peeling off all of that release paper all over that back. Chuck that, and then we can attach this down to the front of our card base. Now, I did cut this card base to be a tiny bit bigger, so we'll just pull in our guillotine trimmer and trim off that excess on the top. Not a big deal. And then we can bring in our crafty glue friend and attach down the flowers around the circle. I think, like I said, that's part of the reason I really like this Teacup Blooms stamp set. You can use those flowers by themselves. They're so pretty. You can use the teacup by itself. You can put the flowers in the teacup. There's just a lot of sweet little options for this stamp set. And so I just wanted to share a few with you. All right, we've got that on the outside. How fun is that? We'll bring in those last couple flowers and put those on the inside. I wish I had taken the circle that I had die cut out from our purple panel and put that on the inside as well, but to be honest with you, I completely forgot about it. We'll stamp out the word celebrate from our celebration cupcake, and then we'll bring in our matching die and die cut that out so that we can put celebrate 50 on the top. This is going to be a card for my in-laws. So this would be a great anniversary card because their 50th is coming up in September. How awesome is that? And then it could also be a birthday card. There's lots of, fun options for that. Think of the number of combinations you could put in there. Everybody loves shakers, right? And then I'm bringing in some more of those silver sparkle spots, and I'm going to be pretty liberal putting those around using my pickup stick, our crafty glue friend, and it's all being encased, or I mean held in that tidy tray. Yeah, check it out. How fun is that? That's card number 1. I really love how that turned out, and I hope my in-laws love it as much as I do. Super pretty. All right, then we're going to move on to our second card. I've already colored and stamped out everything using those Olo markers, same combination of things, just different colors. And I'm going to bring in this striped pattern paper, and we've got our base again. Now that striped pattern paper, I could not tell you what that comes from. I just knew I liked it and wanted to use it, and I have so much pattern paper. I have been, card making for well over 20 years now, so you can imagine the stash that I have. And so I can't tell you what it came from, but I'm sure if you've been stamping and card making for as long as I have, or even part of that, you have a good amount as well. I'll bring in our clean cut layers die set again, and I'm going to die cut out a circle, and then we'll stamp our For You on our tea bag. And then I'm going to start doing some assembly of this card. You'll notice that circle isn't a complete circle. I'm okay with that. I wanted it to be that way, so that way the circle would be hanging off the side a little bit. Doing things like that kind of gives you that illusion that there's more going on outside of the card. I always like that. And then we're going to bring in this Punny Cup of Tea stamp set. This is new as well. And several of those words, I'm just kind of lining those up on a grid stamp block, and then I'll stamp that out next to our circle. It says, "You're a beautiful friend." A lot of options with that one as well. We'll glue down our teacup, and then we're going to glue down our little bag on the outside because I want those flowers to be coming out of the teacup. How cute is that? And then we'll glue down our flowers as well. You could use some foam squares. That would really make this pop, but I was going for easy mailers today. And then those last flowers we're going to put on the inside of the card. I always love stamping out all the images and just coloring them. Even if I don't have a complete idea of what my card is going to look like yet, I like the extra pieces because then it gives you some options for the inside of your card as well. And I don't always use all the pieces. Sometimes I save those for other cards, but today I used all of those pieces. Now we're going to bring in some black sparkle spots and be pretty liberal on the front of this card as well, attaching all of those down. And that's going to finish off card number 2. Love how that one turned out as well. All right, and for our third and final card today, we're going to be doing some, I guess, paper piecing, but sort of not really. Bringing in some more of that pattern paper. Again, don't know where it comes from. And I'm coloring this teacup, that bright orange. I thought it was going to get subdued a bit more. Sometimes when you're coloring on pattern paper with your alcohol inks, your alcohol markers, it can subdue down a little bit because of, depending on the pattern that you're using. It didn't get as subdued as I'd like, so I didn't color the other teacup the same way. I am going to bring in the coffee or tea, however you want to put it, for the inside of our teacup, and we'll stamp that down with some brown ink, pardon my head. And but using pattern paper for big images like this is also great because it takes less time. This is a quick card, to be honest with you. I thought about fussy cutting all around that teacup, and then I thought, no, we'll definitely use the die for this one. The detail on this die is great because it does cut out the inside of the handle as well. So we'll match all those up, run that through our die cutting machine, and then we can start piecing together this card. And these patterns come from different pattern paper pads, not the same. I just like the way they looked together. So again, can't tell you where they came from. I'm sure you have a stash. Like I said, you can go through and have a good time making some cards. So we'll use our crafty glue friend, attach this down, and leave a little white border on the very bottom. What that does is just kind of give it more of a grounding. And then we'll glue down this teacup, the more subdued one. It's almost too subdued now. And see, those teacups are so different. Which one do you like better? But I do like those blue flowers. I think those are super fun. And then we'll bring in that Punny Cup of Tea stamp set again, and we're going to stamp out a Cup of Positivity, and I'll stamp that 3 times, so 2nd generation and 3rd generation. Then we've gone ahead and put down some more embellishments on the outside. I'll have those linked down below. But there's our 3rd and final card. I love how this one turned out as well. So hopefully this gives you some options, some ideas to get that stamp set all inky. And here, let's take a look at all 3 of them again. So happy with how this turned out. And I love that stamp set. It's so beautiful. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button. Definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that Trinity Stamps has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.